Good day. My name is Vanessa Jeffrey, and this is the Workers' Rights Platform. We are broadcasting live from the Workers' Rights Network. Today is the 24th of the 10th month, 2024. Today, there have been a major disruptions in T&TEC, where workers have been demonstrating based on the unsafe conditions at their job site. Now, seeing that we haven't seen no media house would have reported it, we would have taken the initiative to do so. Stay tuned and pay attention to the entire clip. Again, subscribe to our channel if you haven't subscribed as yet. Thank you.
Distribution south of T&TEC is happening simultaneously as we speak in Arena, in the east, central. It's also happening in Tobago. And let me just say again that the action you see happen here in San Fernando is happening simultaneously as we speak in Tobago, T&TEC Tobago. It's happening T&TEC Arena. It's happening in T&TEC Central, it's happening in T&TEC Port of Spain, and of course, right here in San Fernando. In other words, from 6:30 this morning to 7 o'clock this morning, workers throughout T&TEC establishment, they are protesting a number of issues. And I want to list for you this morning the items that they are protesting. Of course, I am not going to shun or to back away from the idea or the notion that the T&TEC workers have not been had an increase since 2014, and they, like everybody else, deserve a proper and decent rate increase. They have not had that, and while they are not being given that, they still have to perform diligently every day. And what we see happening in this country is that the country continues to benefit from a reliable supply of electricity, notwithstanding. But these workers are risking their lives, they are risking their health and safety, life and limb, to provide that commodity at the expense of an uncaring management, not addressing a number of issues. And we want to put those issues on the table this morning. The first thing we want to say that there's a backlog of survey and damage appliance reports in the utilization section of T&TEC, and that department is not properly staffed. And therefore, if you find that you have made reports with respect to your appliances and so on being damaged as a result of power surges and so on with electricity, with T&TEC, and they are taking long, it is a result of that department not properly staffed. Customers are paying for jobs, line extension and so on, installation of transformers, etc. But they are experiencing long delays due to the shortage of materials and so on, and of course, the common problem of manpower shortage. The not filling of vacancies, but the using of contractors. And I want to make the point that wherever there's contractors, there's corruption. Yeah? And that is not to be taken lightly. And in this period here, we are seeing more and more infiltration of contractors that is not being able to explain. And as they cannot find the explanation for that high level of contractors and contract work, follow the money, and you will see at the end of it, it has to do with corruption. So corruption is also affecting T&TEC's operation. But I come back to the central point of vacancies. They are not filling vacancies. And we are seeing where the retired workers are being asked to come back. They themselves are being made contractors to join the corrupt man. I want to talk to those retirees, T&TEC retirees this morning. Leave T&TEC installation and collect your pension and relax yourself. Because as you get involved in contract work, what in fact you do, you encourage the commission to not fill vacancies and so on, and you are part of the corrupt problem. And we are going to be very soon identifying the names of all of those past employees who are now on the contractor list benefiting from a contract system, a corrupt contract system in T&TEC, and it is wrong, and so we want them to back off. So some areas have no reconnection and disconnection crews and so on. And that itself is as a result of the issue of not filling vacancy. All right? And the workers are being forced to use defective equipment and so on, defective material, defective equipment like voltmeters and so on, that are not properly tested and calibrated. And when they do that just to keep the job going, what in fact they do, they put themselves at risk. And we could be facing, not too long from now, if this is allowed to continue, we could be very well facing fatality and so on. And that is what we want to prevent. So there's heaps of scrap materials and so on, the health hazard all over the place that is not being addressed, and that itself also produces health and safety hazard. Oil from transformers leaking at those substations, oil from transformers leaking into the environment, into the earth, and so on, and into our water courses. People don't know that. So when you find you're getting all kinds of different unexplained illnesses, which the doctors can't diagnose, it has to do with leaching of the soil with respect to transformers leaking. And the commission, despite all of these reports that are being made to them, there's nothing is being done about that. And then the one that we see these vehicles on the road, right? These trucks rolling, T&TEC trucks. But the majority of those trucks have numerous defects. They are not roadworthy. And so the workers now have to board these defective vehicles to go and perform emergency response and so on, the emergency crews and those crews that traverse the communities and across the country. These problems that I have listed here, it is common to all of the areas in T&TEC. You have a situation where you have long delay in the response for street lighting. So you have many areas in this country where the lights go out, the street lighting go out, and it is not being responded to in a timely manner, and that adds to creating an environment in this high crime situation. In Trinidad and Tobago, there are a number of factors responsible for the crime and criminal activity that we are seeing happening in the country today. And T&TEC, through its lack of proper staffing and manpower and responding to the needs of repairing those lights and so on in certain areas, they are part of the problem. And we are saying that the shortage of manpower, which the workers are complaining about, which really, if you don't address that, what it does, it puts at risk the life and limbs of those workers. I want to say this morning that we can't hold this for much longer, you know. And you see where health and safety and life and limb is concerned, the WTU is very serious about that. We have an uncompromising position in that regard. And if it is that the commission would want to manage their operations by public relations and following what the workers are doing, that they are protesting, coming out every morning and protesting, and the commission want to spin that into something else and to tell the public that all is well at T&TEC, all is not well at T&TEC. And therefore, insofar as those things are concerned, we cannot guarantee, we cannot hold it much longer. We cannot encourage the workers to stay in an environment that is unsafe, clearly. And clearly, by what I've identified here this morning, there are a number of issues that ought to be addressed. These issues are being raised with the management at the zone safety meetings and so on, and at the high-level safety meeting. But workers and the representatives, they are losing confidence because they are making the reports, just like how you make reports to the police and nothing is done. They are making the reports to the management about these issues and nothing is being done. So you see us here this morning, this is not, it is at the height of the frustration of the T&TEC workers. They are now out in the streets, and this will not end here until these issues are redressed. And I'm saying this morning on behalf of the T&TEC workers, on behalf of every right-thinking citizen, on behalf of those who enjoy electricity seamlessly by this best-performing public utility, it is only happening at the expense of the great risk to the lives and limbs of the T&TEC worker. We want to put an end to that. The Occupational Health and Safety Act give the workers the right to remove themselves from dangerous environment, from threat to their own lives and limbs, and so on. And as a matter of fact, to ensure that those workplaces are safe as they conduct work. The management has a duty of care and a responsibility to ensure that the work environment, the tools, equipment, materials, and so on, is put in place to have work performed in a safe manner, hour by hour, day by day. Yeah.
So you're based on you say you're doing this thing at all those different areas.
They're not doing it, the workers.
Yeah, you're doing this at all these different areas. If you say you have any meetings and things with management and it's like on deaf ears, what's next? What will be your next move?
Well, as I said, the law as it stands, the Occupational Health and Safety Act as it stands, it gives workers the right to remove themselves from dangerous work environment, from threat to life and limb, and so on. And it cannot be that I am in an essential service as a worker, as a T&TEC worker, and I'm made to face threat, face the issue of defective vehicles and so on while I'm on the road. No, that's something is wrong with that. And of course, the shortage of manpower, that's chronic across T&TEC. Let's just get that clear. For all of those who want to say otherwise, there's a shortage of manpower. There's this whole shopping list of issues that I want to say that has been raised over and over and over with the T&TEC management. And what I see happening here now is workers demonstrating their frustration. And we don't want a fatality to make the point. Yeah, and that is what we are.
No paper response.
So all of these issues, no. So they have their zonal safety meeting and so on, where these issues are being highlighted, but they are not being attended to. As a matter of fact, when you talk about life and limb and so on in a highly dangerous environment, as you're talking about high voltage and so on, a T&TEC operation, what they're supposed to do is to have immediate response to these issues. These ought not to be issues, but they are issues. As a matter of fact, we are going to be exposing to the public, the OWTO, the union's executive is going to be exposing to the public the situation with respect to those vehicles and so on. And you would see for yourself. You would see for yourself what we are talking about. So in Tobago, in Central and Port of Spain, here in San Fernando and Arima, throughout T&TEC this morning, we are having this action taking place simultaneous. And I want to say that you would have seen the workers going back to work religiously at 7 o'clock. So it is not, at this time, it is not disrupting the operations. At this time, the public can benefit from the reliable production of electricity. At this time, yeah, workers are back on their job. They came out this morning from 6:30 to 7 and they demonstrated. We don't know how long we can hold this, all right? And we will be recklessly irresponsible to have the workers, or to encourage the workers to work in unsafe conditions.
So some months ago, you said that the workers couldn't guarantee a continued regular supply of electricity. Since then to now, we've not known of any workers who open up the job. And they continue to work in unsafe conditions. So what was the reason for that, and I mean, what would it take?
Yeah. Well, you see, but what I don't want it to take is a fatality, and so we are trying to be. And I said it from some months ago, and so you'd recall from then to now, we are trying to be responsible. We are trying to walk the tightrope and have a good balance to have the public continue to enjoy a reliable supply of electricity, because we know what is happening with the crime. We know what is happening with those areas that need electrification and so on. So we are trying to respond, but at the same time, how much more we are cooperating, but how much more, how much further can we go? And we are saying that the time will come when we can hold it no more. So in between that, what in fact they are doing, they are trying to operate as safe as they could. Yeah? No. But the shortage of manpower is a chronic thing, and it also adds to unsafe conditions.
No, you're saying that, and the management would have seen that before, right? Months have passed since you've last said that. I mean, at what point? I mean, could it be like 2 months from now? Could it be like tomorrow they're going to work, and it's like, I don't think to my line today, I'm going to walk off a whole department. I mean, what could
that's exactly,
deadline.
Well, that is exactly what will happen. And that is why I cannot at this point, I mean, for obvious and other reasons, I would not say, But all I can say, I can guarantee is that we are about, as the union representing the workers, our first responsibility is to ensure that the employer provides a safe work environment. And if that is not forthcoming for all of these months, we are alerting the public that this is not just an issue about money. It is that too, but more appropriately and more concisely, it has to do with the workers staying alive to enjoy that money when it comes. Yeah? And we don't want a situation where something happened and then we have to come from behind. And so it can very well be a surprise that the workers, any day now, that they just can't take it, and a different type of action.
And obviously, T&TEC is an essential service, so there can't be any strike action. I mean, what?
But we are not talking, let me make it clear. The word strike does not enter the conversation here for us. We are not talking at all. We are not talking about strike, which is why I referred to the Occupational Health and Safety Act. And that act provides for, regardless if you're essential service or otherwise, once you're a worker, it provides for the preservation of life and limb and so on, and for the management demonstrating a duty of care and responsibility and ensuring that the work environment is safe. Every employer has a duty of care and responsibility to ensure that the safe work environment is provided for its employees and so on. But at T&TEC, that is not happening to the extent that it should. And where you have dangerous work, the nature of which you have in T&TEC, you need to have the management aggressively responding to these areas of concern, these areas that have been pointed out repeatedly. And so it would not be a strike. It would not be a strike. I want to remove that word from the vocabulary here this morning, from the conversation, yes, and we want to strike out that word. What in fact we want to do is to ensure that when action is taken, it is taken in defense of life and limb, yes, and the preservation, so that they can go back home to their families in one piece. While we provide that service for the consumers. And let me also say, the minister recently was quoted as boasting that T&TEC is a reliable, or the most reliable public utility. We have been saying that for years, because we know that. We know what goes into all the different inputs that goes into the output that is the electricity. And that has to do with the workers performing their tasks in a diligent manner. But instead of paying attention to this group of workers who they are deemed to be essential service workers, but in his opinion, a reliable public utility, yeah, instead of paying attention to the needs of those workers, that go a begging as far as this government and this minister is concerned. What they do, however, and you would see that in their response today, is they spin like the government, try to make you feel everything is okay, try to make the public feel everything is okay by public relations. Public relations cannot guarantee a T&TEC worker a safe work environment if it is not there. Yeah? It does not guarantee the filling of vacancies if you have shortage of manpower. Public relations that they would put out would not guarantee the fixing of all of those areas, the remedying of all of those areas to make the environment safe and secure. And what we will do, as they come out with those reports, we will be releasing into the public domain a number of photographs and so on to show these defects wherever they exist. It's time the lie stops and the work start to make sure that the workers get a safe work environment.
Have there been any workplace injuries of this year?
Well, they are managing, God knows how they are managing. But there are some areas of work, activity, that if it is allowed to continue and not addressed, there will be injuries, and we don't want to get that. All of the near misses and so on that would have been reported. You know, a near miss is a road that leads to injury and major fatality, depending on the amount of near misses. And all of those near misses, that they are not taken seriously by the management when they report. And I did say the zone safety meetings where all of these things come up, they are not taken that seriously. So if I almost get a serious injury as a result of some unsafe condition, and that is reported, instead of remedying that goes a begging. And that is the problem that we have there.
Just two more things. One is clarification. You said those who retired, they're coming back.
Oh yes.
As to work on contract, or they go in with the contractors?
Contract. They themselves are contractors, some of them, yes, in T&TEC.
Yes.
Could you imagine that? Instead of T&TEC filling the vacancies, and you see, when you don't fill vacancies, it adds to a number of instability in the operation. The issue of how you fund medical plan, the issue of how you fund the pension plan, the issue of how you have continuity in service with respect to bringing in people at the lower end, people who go to school and qualify themselves and are now supposed to acquire jobs. You have the retirees now, who themselves would have been speaking out against that when they were active employees. They themselves are part of the problem. We are going to put a list of those, the names of those retirees for the media and expose them, because it is wrong. It is wrong, and they are not comrades. Once you are doing that, and you're threatening the stability and the whole question of the job security of those who now work there, you are not comrades. And we call on you this morning to desist, because enough is enough in that regard. We have had enough of this nonsense with T&TEC. Yeah?
So that sounds similar to what had happened at Petrochel. So
But we didn't have retirees.
No, like management retired and from their own companies and give that kick.
Yeah.
So what I want to ask you now is that the acting Prime Minister in Parliament said that they were, well, two things. He said that some of the former workers, said that they've actually received better care, medical care, since the company and the government alternative arrangements for care and all this.
Well, what we don't want to do here this morning is to turn this. The last thing we want to do is to turn this into Petrotrain situation. So let me say that statement there. The last thing we want to do here this morning is to turn this into a Petrotrain situation. You see that statement? We will address that in its entirety as we deal with that nonsense that is coming from this Johnny-come-lately who is fighting for leadership. Want to be prime minister, want to be leader of a party that he just came in some 9 years ago. So yeah, so he's fighting for leadership. That is what he's fighting for. And so he will say anything, but we don't want to do it. But what he should do, in fact, is to ensure that these workers get all the tools, equipment, materials, and so on to perform their tasks, and so on, and the manpower that is required. But I guess he will say otherwise, because him and the truth is there's so much distance between them and the truth, and you cannot reconcile anything they say. Yeah, they are not, the truth is on one planet and they are on another planet. They are alien to the truth.
Yeah, but not to mix up. On a separate note, he also said that they're moving ahead with three other bidders for the return. Not to mix up, just on a separate.
Yeah, well, we will address that issue separately as they move ahead. They have to move ahead. They have to move ahead and move out and leave the people of Trinidad and Tobago to get proper governance, so that a company, an installation, and an entity like T&TEC will treat its workers fairly and so on, and make sure that they provide a safe environment. We want to see a different type of governance at all levels in this country, and that is not happening. People are suffering. People are suffering. Workers are suffering here. These workers are subsidizing the T&TEC operation, because as they pay more to come to work and so on, and to provide that service, they haven't had an increase in salary from since the end of 2014 to now. And that is unfair. But what is even more unfair, I want to end by reiterating, what is even more unfair is to tell workers that they belong to an essential service, and that they are essential service workers, and that they cannot withhold their labor, but at the same time, you do not provide a safe and conducive environment for which they can come to work and perform and go back to their family in one piece. That is not happening at T&TEC. And to the extent that it is not happening, I'm saying that we cannot this morning, I'm saying that we cannot guarantee that we can hold for much longer.
So the Usher Authority passes through T&TEC and the facility.
Well, the Usher Authority itself is plagued with problems. It's contract workers, understaffed, and so on. No security in tenure, afraid to really call it as they see it, because if they call it as they see, the contract will not be renewed. This is a country that's really upside down, So the authority in law that supposed to have the clout to really protect workers' lives and limb, and to tell management where to get off and to get up their butts and to fix those areas to make sure the environment is safe, they are afraid. They are afraid, and in some instances, we verily suspect that there's some kind of collusion just for the preservation of their own jobs and so on. So they are afraid to call it as they see it because they believe that if they do that, there will be no security in tenure, the contract will not be renewed. Same thing in the court. Same thing in the court. And so this whole place is set up for chaos and confusion and so on. And those who perform, those who provide a service, they are not treated fairly, and worst of all, they are requested to work in unsafe environment. Let me say to T&TEC, I want to say to you this morning, openly, T&TEC and your management, no amount of public relations and trying to spin this and coming out and say everything is okay. We know that's what you'll say, but we are going to expose you. Yes. We are going to expose all of those unsafe conditions. The best thing that you can do at this point is to have your area management throughout T&TEC give the resources to ensure that all of these issues are properly well addressed instead of public relations and so on, and fill all of those vacancies, starting with the most critical areas, which requires adequate manpower, which manpower we do not now have. Yeah. So all of this acting you have in T&TEC now, that is as a result of numerous vacancies. People acting in higher positions and so on, and at the lower level, they're not backfilling. So it adds to the chaos and confusion. That is what is happening in T&TEC.
And this morning will happen again tomorrow and the next.
Well, we will see. If nothing happens, we will pay attention to see the response. And if nothing happens, we will continue to highlight in the public domain. Because when the time comes, when that time comes, like a thief in the night, and it happens, night is darkness, eh? So like a thief in the night, when that time comes, don't blame the workers, because you as the public would have been forewarned. And so I made the point this morning, there are a number of issues that the customers can't get. All these reports of your appliances that are damaged with power surges and so on. You can't get that attended to on time because that department is not properly staffed. You see the collection? You're paying for jobs, the issue of line extensions and so on, installation of transformers so that you can get electricity in other areas, and that cannot happen in a timely manner because what? Because of lack of manpower and materials and so on. Yeah, and there's an excuse after excuse and an excuse for the excuse that you had yesterday. And we are really fed up with that. And if there's one takeaway we want this morning, is that all is not right at T&TEC, and that the issue of shortage of manpower, material space and so on, fix that, T&TEC. Fix that. Yeah?
Well, there you have it. That was the scene today at T&TEC. And the workers, they are songing very serious. Again, my name is Venison Jeffrey. This is the Workers' Rights Platform. We are broadcasting live on the Workers' Rights Network. Tune in later. We have a very important interview on our show later at 7:30 p.m. till 9:30 p.m. It will also have call-in sessions. We would have tried to reach out to some of the members that, that would have been on the protests. But we know what has gone with certain union officials. Again, we are